All right, so it's been exactly 3 months since I got my diagnosis for schizoid personality disorder. Probably time to update you on what's going on there. Not just because it's the 3 months thing, but because now I'm starting to go through some proper stuff. Like, 3 months is a decent amount of time to start thinking about things and really start to come to terms with like what it means about my life and how it's turned out this way, what started it. And so, yeah, the past 3 days have been really hard. I've been waking up, like, just having breakdowns. Yesterday, I barely left my room. I think mum thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I just had the light off and had my curtains open, but not much light comes in. Yeah, I didn't really come out until the afternoon when I wanted some tea, and then, later for dinner, I tried to perk up and be social again. Because otherwise, that would be awkward, like we have dinner together. Yeah, so I've got to try and not be a complete grump. Um, yeah, so past 3 days, just not good mental health times. And so what's happened is, like I finally started to think a bit more about like how did I get to this position. And so if you remember in my first video about schizoid personality disorder, I mentioned that the cause was probably, I've got a disabled brother, and that would have happened. He would have come along and had his first seizure when I was about 3 years old. So my theory was, okay, so like when I was a kid, I had just enough time to get used to like what normal life was, and then just got to that age of being conscious of what normal life is like, and then he comes along, changes everything, and yeah, child me would have been like, oh my god, what just happened? And so my theory was like, that's probably what did it, that sort of shock and childhood issue. But I kind of just thought that was it, right? But I'm realizing the more I think about it that actually it wasn't just that initial event, it was the ongoing impact because obviously his needs came to dominate family life. And I think the way that I reacted, like, and here's the problem, the real problem is I actually haven't escaped the situation that probably gave me this issue because I still live with him and he still dominates family life. So yeah, and like there's 3 decades worth of stuff to think about, and every now and then something else will pop up in my mind, and I'm like, oh, now that makes sense, and maybe that's what I was getting at with this, and maybe that's why. There's just so much stuff, and like it's hard to go through and hard to. I don't know. It's just like kind of upsetting, and then having to admit things and dig up things that I'd buried. Yeah, like, it's not like I have repressed memories or anything, but there are things that just like, okay, that was an issue and it wasn't like, holding on to it wasn't helping at the time. So I just sort of let it go and moved on. But then now I'm remembering it with this new framework to view my life by, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't want to go into details. I did talk a little bit about it in like the start of one of my Patreon posts recently. I'd like, I'll start making a Patreon post about something and then want to give background, and then it turns into this long, yeah, my. Anyway, but yeah, no, I don't want to go into detail like on YouTube because YouTube is a public platform. I don't know who's watching, and I'm not ready to talk about this stuff like with family, for example. And so I don't think family watches my YouTube because why would they? Especially the way that I go on and on. But I don't know for sure. I don't know if someone's keeping tabs on me, so I'd rather not say anything here and potentially uh, start some drama. I don't know. Like, it's not like we're a dramatic family or anything, but I have in the past gotten in trouble for things that I've said on YouTube, like way back. And then also when I've tried to raise issues that I think are related to all this, but didn't know how to articulate at the time, when I've raised similar things, I've sort of been shut down and it's just kind of made things worse. So I feel like it's not worth talking about it here with that risk. And then also, When I got my diagnosis, uh, and my parents are sort of speculating about why am I like this, because like, are there personality quirks in the family or whatever. I did say at one point, no, I think it's probably the situation with my little brother, and dad was like not happy with that suggestion, so I'm just not going to bring it up, like, yeah, not say things on the internet. Now, speaking of like causes, I realize there's more than one possible cause for schizoid personality disorder, but when I look at both my dad's side of the family and mum's side of the family, as far as I'm aware, there are no signs of anything like schizophrenia, so I don't think it's genetic with me. Mum's side of the family is a little bit harder to know because, in Japan, I think even today the mental health system isn't great, and there's a lot more stigma than there is in Western countries. But from what I know of her family, I don't think there's any schizophrenia there. So I think my issue is pretty much entirely environmental, unfortunately. And yeah, so I'm just sort of processing a lot of that at the moment. And unfortunately, I don't have a therapist to go through this with, so I'm having to do a lot of it on my own. But I mean, that's like, I've been doing stuff on my own for ages, and that's part of the disorder, right? Is like, I try and just do shit myself because that's what I feel like I have to do, I guess. What's interesting is like, I can sort of see my more emotional side, like, this is what I think feel, but I can also see a more logical, like, detached side of things, and look at stuff from an almost psychologist perspective. I mean, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but it's sort of like, oh yeah. So some things is like with denial, how much certain things meant to me or might have hurt me in the past that the disorder, I guess, has made me dismiss and be like, oh no, it's not because of that. But then with the logical part, now that we've got this framework to view my life, I'm like, no, actually, you did care about that, and you've just buried it, and you're in denial, and all this kind of stuff. And so, one of the things is like, I mean, I'm still hesitant to use the word trauma, but I'm starting to come around to it and starting to see that that's probably what the whole situation was like. And to some extent, I'm still in it. I mean, one of the things, did I mention this already? I don't know. I've tried to film this video more than once. I can't actually remember what I've said. But one of the reasons, like, this even started in my head is because my disabled brother, he's been waking up really early. Like, we've switched into daylight saving. Daylight saving ended, so, but he doesn't know that, so he still thinks it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and he's waking up at 5. And then, like, even when I get up and try and set him up with his puzzles or try and send him back to bed and turn the light off, he just starts making noise again, and so I haven't been able to sleep. And so I think on Friday morning, I was thinking about how he's still impacting my life. Like, I still haven't escaped this situation where he's still impacting my life. And so I just started thinking more and more and more about all these different aspects of, yeah, how his needs have impacted on my life and how I've reacted to stuff and what I've felt I could do. Yeah, and this is the third day in a row that I've been a wreck and been a bit of breakdown mode, and yeah, so it's difficult, and I don't really know what else I can do except just keep going through stuff in my head and reframing things, and maybe eventually I'll find a psychologist. I don't know if that's worth doing. But if I think about it as like a trauma thing, maybe instead of seeing someone who knows what schizoid is, I could see someone who understands trauma. Although my trauma isn't really what I normally think of as trauma, like, people who've been through abuse or war or other kinds of stuff. Like, I feel like if I saw someone who's used to normal trauma, maybe that wouldn't help either. It's hard to know what to do. Um, yeah, and like, maybe I can figure it out myself. Maybe I do need some help. But so I've talked to a friend who she's studying psychology. She's the main person that would really go and see socially anyway. We haven't really seen each other as much in a while. I guess COVID doesn't help. But so, um, before the pandemic, so another thing I've realized is the pandemic actually did send me backwards. Like, lockdown, not a problem for me because having schizoid, um, social stuff is kind of a strain. So lockdown was kind of nice in the sense that I didn't have a lot of expectations to keep up. Um, but on the other hand, it's really set my social progress back. And like what I was saying with the feelings versus logic is like, I don't feel like I need to be social. I don't feel like that's important. But all the evidence and my logic says probably that would be a good thing. Like, yes, I feel disconnected from the world and there's no point to anything and everything kind of sucks. But maybe if I did connect to people a bit more, that'd connect me to the world more, and then maybe I'd find more stuff to do that I just can't feel while I'm not in that state. I don't know. But like, because what happened with me socially is like, in the past, I was much more overtly schizoid. Just people didn't pick this stuff up. They just thought I was moody or I don't know. But I sort of slowly worked my way up to being more social. And I think music helped me with that. Like, I've said about why I want to be in a band was partly because, like, you have to work with people, and it forces you to get out, it forces you to be social and stay on top of things. So, yeah, I guess, like, when I went to music school, like at other unis, you can kind of get away with working on your own, except for the occasional group work. But when it comes to music, at the time also they had us doing like one of the classes was like a band class, so you kind of have to work with people to make the music. There's a lot more collaboration in that, and I think that helped me slowly build up being social. And then I started going out to gigs and meeting more people, and then I got into a band, and then you have to like network, and so I sort of built that up. When I had that big depression, obviously my social life just went really downhill again. But then I recovered and I was starting to get back into being social and starting to get back into gigging. And then the pandemic happened. And before the pandemic, almost every week I had been going to lunch with mum, and then maybe once a month would hang out with a friend. Since the pandemic, that hasn't happened though. And like, mum's gotten really into the gym. She's found like classes 6 days a week to go to. And, we haven't really been to lunch because a lot of the places we used to go closed down. Yeah, and I guess I'm not doing as well. It just feels kind of pointless. And then, yeah, I've hardly seen any friends, and I hardly go to any gigs anymore. And I can see like I'm getting a little bit more closed in, more socially withdrawn. So things have gone backwards there. And yeah, I was talking to my friend who's studying psychology, and she sort of offered like maybe we should hang out, like once a month, and if it's too much to go out of the house, she could come here and we could just hang out a bit. So yeah, I don't feel like I need to do that. I don't necessarily feel like I want to, but my logic is like you probably should, so I might do that. Also, I've been talking to my brother a little bit, my other brother, the older one, the middle child. I'm the oldest, even though I don't look like I'm the oldest. I look like a small boy. Yeah, no, my other brother, I've been talking to him a bit, because yeah, I think he sort of understands a bit more because we grew up in the same situation. He's much better adjusted than me. I have my theories on why that is, partly because he was older, but also I think because he played sport. Both my parents like sports, so it's easy for them to connect. Whereas I don't think my parents ever really understood a lot of the things that I did, and they definitely don't understand a lot of the shit that I do now. So yeah, there's stuff like that that's just like bad luck things. Anyway, I've been talking to him a bit, and he sort of gets it. And yeah, I think also that last big depression, when everyone realized I had a proper issue, he sort of started to get it a bit more. And he's a really sweet guy. Like, he's much more caring than I am. And yeah, we've been talking, and he's like, we could do more stuff together, maybe. He could take me somewhere. So that would be kind of cool, I guess, because, trying to hang out with like random friends who I haven't seen in ages can be a bit awkward. But if it's just my brother, maybe that'll be a bit easier. But he's kind of busy because he works full time and, has his own social stuff to do. But we'll see. Anyway, those are some things to try. In the meantime, I don't know, I'm just processing this stuff. I mean, this was my first week of getting my weekly routine properly going. Although, like, people's plans change what order things happen, but I do have a weekly list of things to get done. Um, and like it went well. I actually wrote music. I wrote half a song. That's on Patreon now if you want to listen to it. Um, and yeah, but just because I didn't sleep well Friday morning with all the yelling and just started thinking about all this stuff, it just sort of collapsed a little bit. And so hopefully I'll be able to keep up that weekly routine, but like with all the emotional stuff going on, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to head into another deeper depression going through all this stuff. And so maybe that's another reason to find a psychologist that I don't hate. I don't know if I can trust psychologists at this point because of, too many bad experiences. It's like, how do I get over that? How do you find the right person? Or I don't know, I might consider seeing my old psychiatrist, but every time that I've called in the past while, or sent an email, they're still only doing telehealth, which I can't do. I don't have the privacy around here. The only reason I can make this video right now is because everyone's gone. I was going to make this video anyway, but I was going to like grab the keys and go and sit in the car and make a video. So yeah, I really can't do telehealth. And so if my psychiatrist is just doing that, I'd have to find a new one, which defeats the purpose of really seeing him again, because I don't need medication. I just need someone who already knows something about my situation so I don't have to re-explain every damn thing, because it takes so long. My friend who's studying the psychology, she said maybe I should try schema therapy, which sounds very involved and expensive. But we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, so in the meantime, the main thing I'm trying to do is just keep up that weekly routine. So I did have like a list of days, like what days I'm going to do stuff, but it really depends on what the rest of the family's doing. So like one day I would do an art studio day, go to my art studio, and just make stuff. One day I would set aside for making music, which I've done one day of and got half a song already, and it's surprising how that went. It's almost like it wrote itself. Very bizarre watching myself create that. One day I have bonsai. The day after that I need to recover. How many is that? 4 days. Sunday's cleaning day, which is what I've got to do today. Saturday is a rest day. What's the last day? Oh, a recording day, because there's usually one day a week where everyone's out of the house and I can actually record stuff, and it's usually not a Sunday, so this is one of those weird days. Anyway, yeah, so there's those sort of 7 days of things planned, and I just sort of move them around depending on what's going on, and hopefully that'll work, because like cleaning day has helped, and also like my routine of doing stretches at night, because otherwise I would just turn into a total useless blob, physically I mean. So yeah, I'm hoping that'll help. Otherwise, what else do I do? Like, if I can find some therapy. Been thinking about like, setting up streaming to do video games maybe, but it's really hard for me to feel like that's not a waste of time. But it might be fun to experiment with. I'll see how that goes. I had a thought and it's kind of escaped me. Let me pause while I have a think about that. I don't remember. Maybe it'll come to me while I ramble some more, but yeah, anyway, so my dog has been helping me, I think, because I don't know, I guess dogs just don't act like people, so it's easier to hang out, I don't know, but he sort of checked on me a lot yesterday when I didn't come out, and, made me play with him, and I took him for a walk, like he sort of got me to do things, so I think it's important that he's around, keeping tabs on me. Yeah, I don't know. I really can't remember what that thought was. I'm sure, like, once I watch this back, I'll think of something and then I'll have to edit something onto the end. Yeah, just sort of processing a lot of stuff, and it's kind of sad because, like, in terms of socioeconomic blah blah, you'd think I would have had a pretty good start to life, when you look at the overall picture, and I was really good at maths and science, and so I should have had a pretty bright future, but the damage was done pretty early in my life. And now I'm just this mess. I can't really function in society. I can give short illusions that I'm functioning, but when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, no. I remember what it is. So, as I said, I'm still in this situation where basically the cause of all this, I haven't actually escaped it. And so the logical thing would be, why don't you move out? I did try moving out once, back when, the first guy I dated, the guy that I call my ex, because he was the one that, I don't know, ex just feels like it's sort of a more negative way to refer to someone, and so he's the one I call my ex rather than the other guys who I just... Anyway, yeah, no, I moved out for about 9 months. And it just didn't go well. There are a lot of things that didn't go well, and my ex also turned out not to be the person he pretended to be, and in some ways I think that might have reinforced some of the issues I have with people, because, yeah, I don't know, there's so much stuff, like, I wish I could talk about it, but I just don't feel comfortable. Yeah, it's unfortunate that that turned out that way, because some of the things that I was promised in that relationship I really did need, but not enough to tolerate all the other crap. Anyway, so I did try moving out. It was just a bit of a disaster. Now, that was, oh my god, that must have been like more than 10 years ago now. Anyway, since then, I'm really not able to look after myself, for one thing. So, like, if I moved out, I don't think I would survive. I think I'm too damaged to be able to escape my situation. Because, like, when I say my situation, like, it's not terrible, but maybe I can't heal properly because I'm still stuck in at least some of it. I mean, yeah, when I had that last big depression, things did get better. And so maybe that's why I've become a bit more stable, because, like, my parents have sort of realized that I have a real issue and things have chilled out, and I'm allowed to just try and deal with things my own way instead of feeling pressure to go and get, like, a proper job and all this kind of stuff. But, there's still issues because I'm still living with the disabled brother, and a lot of the similar things still exist. But yeah, anyway, so moving out would seem like the logical thing, but I'm just beyond the point of being able to look after myself, and I also think it would be dangerous for me to live on my own. I don't think I could live with any random, like, roommates or anything, because, like, that's the sort of social thing that I'm just not going to feel comfortable with. Yeah, it's not worth that. So it would be moving out on my own, which I think is a dangerous proposition, because then I'm alone with the thoughts in my head and the internet, and no one keeping tabs on me, and no one making sure I eat properly, like, even stuff like that. So I don't think that would be a good idea, in just so many ways. But I did come up with one. When I read my Facebook thing, I was just like, okay, so I can't look after myself, right? I'd need to, and I shouldn't live on my own. And so the only thing I could think is if I met the right person and just dated them for the sake of escaping the situation. A little bit like how things could have been with my ex, but weren't. And so I made this post on Facebook yesterday, kind of like as a joke. But it is sort of like, this is a thing that could help. But so I said, I will happily start dating again if you have incredibly low social and intimate expectations of me. You can pay for us to live in a not shit area and give me, with an asterisk, my own space. If I look at the asterisk, me, package deal with dog and way too many plants, so it'll have to be a house with a yard. A balcony ain't gonna cut it. Basically, you need to be rich. Number 3 was you can make sure I actually eat properly without feeding me lame health foods or overly fancy cuisine. 4, you pass an extensive written exam that reassures me you don't believe in garbage such as tarot that never manages to warn anyone I'm about to break up with them, or anti-vax propaganda that keeps breaking its promises to turn me into a lizard goddess. In return, I will give you Long-winded, inescapable rants that make you wish you hadn't asked your question. Probably a lot of psychological breakdowns. Sometimes cat mode, which could include basically anything from getting quietly snug on the couch staring at some invisible horror only I can see, to running around the house making a huge racket, quite possibly all while wearing fluffy cat ears. On the occasions you convince me to go somewhere with you, I'll probably dress the fuck up and look fabulous, so feel free to show me off if that's your thing. And if you ask me to whip you, I'll probably do it, just don't get weird about my feet or glasses. And yeah, a lot more people reacted to that than I was expecting. I've got a few ha-has, a bunch of likes, and a lot of loves on that. Yeah, not gonna happen, is it? Yeah, so like I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'm kind of stuck in this situation. I've just got to figure out how do I change my life, or maybe I just need to process what has got me into this situation first, and then maybe once I've got a better idea of that and reframe things, and I don't know, maybe see a psychologist. Maybe then I'll figure out what do I need to do to fix my life, or at least make it better. And I do have things that I'm still working on. Like some days it seems really pointless, but I'm trying. Because, like, wow, I actually was kind of suicidal yesterday. I almost did chat with Lifeline, even though they're kind of useless, just because I was like that bad. But then my friend was online, and so I talked to her instead. But yeah, like, I'm kind of stuck here because I mean, my preferred methods of escaping life are not really available to me. So I'm stuck here because I don't like pain, and I don't like the idea that I might end up crippled and with people watching me and things would just be worse. So yeah, I'm stuck here. I might as well pass the time. And so my weekly schedule of things is one. Also, I've got my cyber wigs, and I've got another one on the way. Well, it's actually here. I just need to do the unboxing. And so I'll show you that soon. And so those things, like, they're really cool. And now that I've got them, I need to actually do the performances that I wanted to use them for. And so hopefully that'll give me some incentive to perform. Because, like, getting the art studio, because it's costing me money, it's giving me that extra reason to be in the studio at least once a week. And so similarly, since I've spent the money on these fancy wigs, I should really put in the time to do the music and organize more gigs again at some point and just get back on stage. So, hopefully these things, like, I'm sort of trying to hack my own psychology. Like, what are the things that I can use to make sure I do stuff? Yeah, so routines are helping, I think, because it gives me something definite to do on that day, and so I'm not just floating around, trying to decide what am I going to do and ending up watching YouTube endlessly and playing Spider Solitaire instead. Instead, I have like a day where I do specific things. In the past, I tried to do the, like, actually timetabling during the day, but I can't. I think I need to have like one thing I focus on each day. Often, like, if I have an appointment in the middle of the day, I can't think about anything else. Like, I can only really focus on one thing a day. So yeah, I'm sort of trying to use that to be like, okay, on this day you do this. Takes the guesswork out, gotta do it. And having Patreon helps, because then I'm like, at the end of the day, on music days and art days, I'll just like be like, here's where I'm up to, guys, and write way too much about it, but that's me. You think my vlogs are long, so is my writing. I wonder if some of my childhood is the reason I got into performance, because as like an attention seeking thing, because I wasn't maybe getting enough attention when I was younger. With the disabled brother taking up so much of just everything, maybe me being a performer, and maybe even the reason I'm on YouTube is to get that kind of attention that maybe I didn't feel like I had as a child. I don't know, it's kind of funny trying to psychoanalyze child me from the adult perspective, but also these are things that probably are affecting me now, so am I psychoanalyzing myself as an adult as well? I don't know, it's hard because I can have these different perspectives to look at myself. But anyway, so I guess half an hour is a decent update. Probably have forgotten stuff, probably have been repetitive in a few things, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, these are boys' pajamas from Big W that I got a long time ago in the teenager section, and they still fit me, and they haven't really decayed yet. Because I'm small. Anyway, I was so sad on Friday. I went to the art studio, but on the way home, I decided to get myself some more rainbow popcorn and crispy M&Ms. I didn't mean for them to both be blue packets, but there you go. So I'm just drowning my sorrows in chocolate and whatever this garbage is. Also, my other brother, the sweet one, I think he spotted me, was it yesterday morning? I was crying, but I had to get a tissue. It was either yesterday or Friday. I'm sorry, it probably doesn't even matter to you guys what day it happened. Isn't it funny how we all do that though? We're like, no, maybe it was this day or this day. Anyway, one morning I was crying and like to the point that I needed to blow my nose, so I had to get up and get a tissue because they're out in the other room and I just don't have any in my room. I could go to my bathroom, but sometimes you just need a real tissue instead of toilet paper. And so like I was just blowing my nose a lot, and he happened to walk in and was like, what's wrong? And so I told him some of the stuff, and he's like, can I do anything? And I said, not really, no one can do anything for me, that's part of the problem. And like really there's not a lot he can do. He offers and stuff, but like whatever. And then later that night, must have been Friday actually, later that night, I was just in the kitchen, I think, making some tea, and he came home and he plonks this big Easter egg. He got me a big Easter egg. It's like about that big, and it's got little tiny Easter eggs in it. So that's what I'll be having next Sunday, because yes, I have discipline to not open my Easter eggs until Sunday. Mum is not the same, she's already opened hers. But yeah, no, he got me an Easter egg just to try and cheer me up, and like, it didn't really do much, but it is a nice gesture. And so yeah, I guess I lean a bit more on him and also my friend. They're probably the two people I can talk to the most at the moment. And then just occasionally rant to Patreon. And that's sort of where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, my brother's going away on holiday. But yeah, I've got that other friend to talk to, and yeah, so in other news, Punk Rave Australia should be coming out soon. I don't know why the delay. I sent it in on Saturday, I think, last week, and they said, oh, we'll try and get it by Friday, but it hasn't come yet, so. What are you woofing at, Hopi? Yeah, I'm not sure when that's going to come out. Oh, I hope they're not home already. Well, I'm wrapping up anyway, so there'll be another Punk Rave Australia coming out soon, and I kind of really like the outfit I got. There's also going to be the other wig I'm going to be opening. And then, what was the last thing? I can't remember because he's being noisy. Oh yeah, photos from the Eternity Aerial Showcase have come out. I've changed my personal Facebook cover photo, but I'll also post some, I guess, on Instagram and maybe my proper Facebook page instead of my personal one, and those are things that are going on. And I'm gonna go because I need to have a shower and start doing my Sunday cleaning and make sure that this video isn't something I just want to delete straight away. So if you're watching it, great, well done me posting the thing, even though things are difficult, and I will see you whenever. And try to live stream at some point, I guess.